Yo, 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 yo. What is good, my people? It is me, Jason Gooner, back in the studio, and it is another episode of the EPL weekly preview show. It is week 5, and we are here to break down all 10 fixtures for the week. People, if I look a little bit different tonight, it's because for my birthday, my family got me a new chair for the studio. So we have a nice, comfortable chair, people. So we're doing these long streams. We don't feel away at the end of it, right? So very comfortable, people. If you see me moving around, it's because man's have no chair, you see it. So yes, I want to give thanks to the family for getting me this great, great, great birthday gift. Tonight the show is a little bit later because we went out to dinner for the birthday as well. It was my daughter's birthday on the 5th, my birthday on the 15th. So while at dinner tonight, kind of commemorating all of that. And yeah, so we're in my new chair, we had the birthday dinner. So I think the birthday settings are officially closed. We can move on with life now. So yeah, but I want to say thank you again to the family for getting me this chair for the studio. Definitely a great addition because yes, I believe I was starting to feel away using the chair I was using. All right, so this one we can definitely be a lot more comfortable when we do the show them. So give thanks for my new chair. All right, people, I just want to say as well, big up to each and every one of you lately who have subscribed, who have been gaining subscribers nice and steady. So I just want to say thanks again to all the people that took the time out to hit the subscribe button. I want to also tell you that it makes sense for you to um, turn on all your bell notifications so that whenever we go live, you are notified and you know that we are in the building and we are bringing some football content to you. All right. So, you know the drill, people. It is Friday night, the night before all the fixtures in the Premier League for the week. So, we are here to break them all down, give our score predictions in the comment section. Definitely talk about anything you think might happen in the games tactically, any news you want to share, anything about your team. If you just want to banter another side, that is more than welcome as well, because it is a safe space here, and yeah, free speech is welcome. So this is Jason Gooner again. This is Jason Gooner TV, and this is the weekly EPL preview show. So if you haven't been here before, basically we keep track of all the predictions. So if you want to take part this week, definitely when we're discussing a game, just put your score in the comment section, notify which team have how many goals, and I will put it in the big board here. And yeah, end of the week we have a winner. We also get an extra point for guessing the score correctly as well. So don't just tell me Liverpool going to win or Everton and Liverpool going to draw. Please add a score line to it because that way we can know how to break the ties. All right. So that's it, people. If you missed the show tonight and you want to take part as well, just drop your comment underneath the video. You can also reach me on the socials at Jason Gooner TV. That's Instagram, X. Yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me there. And of course, you can drop it anywhere there, and I will also put it on the Discord server as well. Some people leave their pics there. Everywhere you just find pics on a weekend. So I just compile them all, put them on the big board, and reveal the winners. And of course, if you finish last, then you know you get the dreaded donkey. All right. So, people, let's not hitch anymore. Let's get right into it. So we did have Europe start back up, at least not all of Europe, but Champions League. So I had what, 6 Premier League teams played in the Champions League. I believe what. So Man City would have won, Arsenal would have won, Liverpool would have won, Tottenham would have won, Chelsea lost to Bayern, and there's one more. Newcastle lost to Barcelona. So 2 losses for the Premier League teams to 2 very good teams, Bayern and Barcelona, and then 4 victories. Liverpool over Atletico Madrid, 3-2. Then you had Man City over Napoli, return of Kevin De Bruyne sadly had to come off early because of a red card to his team. They fell 2-0. Then you had Tottenham won 1-0. Who did Tottenham play again? Tottenham played Villarreal, beat them 1-0. And then other than them, Liverpool 3-2, I said that one. Arsenal 2-0 over Athletic Bilbao, sorry. And then Chelsea fell 3-1, I believe it was, to Bayern. Yeah, 3-1. Harry Kane with a brace. So yeah, that's how they fared in that. We had some teams playing the EFL Cup as well from the Premier League. I think Aston Villa crashed out on penalties. Crystal Palace won on penalties, and Nottingham Forest lost after being 2-0 up, 2 goals in injury time for Swansea to win that one 3-2. So bit of a mixed bag. Aston Villa did fall to another Premier League team, but Crystal Palace had to go to penalties against Millwall, and Forest losing to Swansea. Swansea, of course, playing in the Championship right now. So, yeah, EPL teams that were in action, some of them during the week. So keep that in mind. Aston Villa and Crystal Palace, Forest. They had relatively changed squads for the most part in those games. So I wouldn't think fatigue is going to play any major factor. But the Champions League teams, those would be the teams where their exertions in Europe could eventually play a part in what happens this week. And what we'll do, when we get to the games with the Champions League teams, we'll try to figure out, based on who started, what that might mean for those teams going into the weekend. So those teams with the big squads, the Arsenals, Chelsea, question, do you guys think Liverpool has a big squad? Big up I had one. Big up I had one in the building from early. Big up yourself, Hope all is well with you. We get new settings in the studio. Yeah, man. New settings to feel comfortable, All right, so first things first. We like to look at what's going on off the pitch because that always going to have a direct connection to what happens on the pitch. And namely, we're talking about who is injured, so who won't even get to see the pitch. So we have Strand Larson. That's a player that a lot of FPL managers would be looking at because he's a good budget pick, can get your goals but don't cost you so much money. And Pereira, is talking a good game in the media, but if you know what Wolves' situation right now, it's not the best. I think they have no points in the Premier League right now. So they really need to get on the board. And of course, Wolves will be facing Leeds. So, that's an opportunity for them, you would think, to get some points. So he just signed a new 3-year deal, even though it started out slowly. And I think that's probably the right move because he made something out of nothing last season. When he got there, they were really struggling, and I think he turned them around. Hasn't been the best so far this season, but it's a team that, I look back at that Man City game, for example, this season, and they just they weren't clinical enough in those situations, but they were getting some good openings, they just didn't do the right things with the openings. Basically, he was talking in the press conference on Strand Larson's fitness, one training with the team, but I hope tomorrow he can help us. Of course, not for the 90 minutes, but for some period in the game. This is the information I have from the medical department. So Strand Larson, if you're wondering if he's going to play, it sounds like he can't play a full match, but he did train, so there's a chance. So they'll be facing Leeds at the Molyneux. And I guess the big talking point for Wolves as well, at least in the press conference today, was the difference in formation when they face Newcastle. And Newcastle did have the lion's share of the possession. When you look at the stats in the game as well, they had the higher expected goals and all these things. But Wolves did have a stretch in the game where it looked a lot better. And, they went with the two up front and the 3-5-2 system. And for me, with the kind of defenders that they have in the squad, I think this is probably the smartest way to go, because I don't think individually they have good enough defenders to play with a back four, especially, Pereira does not play necessarily a style that would suit a team that's fighting relegation every season. I think he does try to play like an expansive type of football. If you're going to want to have those principles, I think you do have to set your team up based on your personnel, though. And I just feel like, their central defenders especially, they would do well with having a couple more centre backs around them as opposed to just the one centre back and two full backs, So it's going to be interesting to see if going forward they kind of stick with this 3-5-2. I think if they do stick with it and they were to, for example, have Tolu and Strand Larsen playing together, I think that could cause a lot of problems for some teams, I don't know. I don't know. Respect, I had one. I had one drop the scores from early. I had one must be tired tonight. I had one will do that, and then stick around the whole show a comment, but it's all right. I'm gonna write down your score them. I had one while them dead. 2-0, 1-1, 0-1, 1-1, 2. Fulham, Brentford. So I had one, the Citizen giving us our respect. Say 1-1. Wouldn't even go for the City win. Yeah, so Pereira, I mean, the biggest news from this basically, Strand Larsen looks to be in contention to play, but not for the entire 90 minutes. All right. All right, moving on to Kamara being available for the trip to Sunderland. So I think one of Emery's favorite midfielders, Boubacar Kamara, he will be available. He got some minutes in the EFL Cup in their loss on penalties. So he will be back in the fold for tomorrow. That's a big addition for Aston Villa for that game. Of course, Aston Villa will be going to face Sunderland. Then Solanke progressing but remains out for Brighton. And also Doncaster, which is their EFL Cup match next week. So Thomas Frank confirming no Dominic Solanke for this weekend. Tottenham will be headed to Brighton, of course. So Amorim was talking as well today. Said that Sir Jim offered him a contract, I heard. That's amazing. So yeah, he said he has a positive update for the Man U squad. Both Mount and Cunha are available to return after missing the derby. Dallo is still sidelined. And Lisandro Martinez continuing with his recovery. Cunha is in the squad. Mason is in the squad. As far as Chelsea team news, of course, Cole Palmer is fit. Big talking point is, will Garnacho start at Old Trafford? Sure to get a rain of boos on his head top. But Estevao could play as well. So you never know. I think that's one thing. If you're an FPL player and you have Chelsea players, obviously if it's not Cole Palmer and Pedro, and not Pedro Neto, but Joe Pedro, and even Pedro Neto, as a coach, love Pedro Neto as well. So yeah, I don't know, like, which players do you get? They have Gittins, they have Estevao, they have my boy the name Garnacho. There's a lot of players to choose from. Who does Maresca make as his first 11? It's a lot of players to choose from. All right, so Slot was talking as well. Um, I'm not sure I find the question. Okay, so you had a question about would you consider playing Isak and Ekitike as a front two? And he said, I consider, of course, because you consider many things and it depends always on how well they are doing. So if both of them are in the best form of their life, you would even consider it more playing them together. But it's also clear that we have a certain structure, which has mainly been 4-3-3 and playing with three midfielders. But the amount of times we have at the end phase of the game played with 2 9s, that has happened quite a lot as well. Hugo can indeed also play from the left differently from Cody or Rio. And that's the good thing about our squad. We have multiple options. But first of all, they all have to stay fit to have these options. And if some of them are not fit, we might have to use them both in a 4-4-2. That all depends on the form of them and how many players we have available. All of them are fit now, and I think I can maybe choose between 21 players. So that's quite normal. It's not that it's far too much. Yeah, so Slot being asked already about the two of them playing together. Palmer update from Maresca that we found out that he was going to play. Cole is okay. Said Mark Gill should get a game. Wissa ruled out until the next international break. Damn. So Wissa won't see the field anytime soon. Branthwaite and Mikolenko making progress for the Merseyside Derby. Hinchwood out and the Kuiper doubtful to face Spurs. Iwobi needs to be assessed ahead of the Brentford game. So that's the main team news that we got today out of the press conferences. It's most other teams pretty much good to go. But yeah, that is pretty much it from the press conference. Them back in a work shift. All right, cool. Behave yourself at work. Low, big up yourself, Go on. Hope all is well, my brother. Hope all is well with you and the fam. All right. Yeah, man. So let's get into the fixtures now, people. So we have match week 5. The curtain raiser is a classic English PL matchup. This is Liverpool and Everton, the Merseyside Derby. Darren England will be taking control as the referee. And it should be a good matchup, I think, right now. Recent times you would say, boy, Everton really don't have a chance in these games. But I think under David Moyes, they have seen a bit of a resurgence. You have seen the likes of NDI step up. Of course, they went out and got Jack Grealish as well. And he has been on fire, winning the Premier League Player of the Month for August and everything. So I think this is going to be one of the tougher tests of recent times Liverpool will face. But at the end of the day, it is Anfield, it is a Merseyside derby. So, of course, Liverpool would be the favourites going into this game. When you look at the stats, so far this season, Everton quietly just right there in sixth position. Only the one loss with 2 wins and a draw to go with that. Liverpool obviously scored 4 more goals so far this year in their first 4 games, but both teams conceding a similar clip, one per match, and the expected goals. This is actually pretty amazing. I wouldn't have thought this, but Everton slightly edges the expected goals so far this season. Just goes to show you how clinical Liverpool is, and I've always said that about Liverpool. They'll keep going and going and going, but at the end of the day, when they get a chance, typically they bury it. Both teams have 2 clean sheets. So statistically, when you look at the matchup, the only big margin is the goals scored, right? But everything else is pretty much even. And that's why I say, like, people might not realize that this game is going to be a tough game for Liverpool. And some of the things that I saw Bournemouth able to do, basically every team other than probably Arsenal, to be honest. I don't think Arsenal did enough to pressure that Liverpool back nine. More than they should have done more, I thought. But this Newcastle game, they were under pressure for large stretches. Burnley and Arsenal, I would say Liverpool looked decent enough defensively. But then again, against Atletico Madrid, there were stretches where Liverpool looked a little vulnerable as well. And I think Everton, when you go to Anfield, there's really nothing to lose. Obviously, it's a derby for them, so might be a bit more pressure, because it is a derby. But I just feel like Everton is not a walkover team right now. They're set up stoutly strong. They have a good goalkeeper, decent centre backs as well. So yeah, I feel like they have a unit, and I think they have enough attacking and creative players to cause problems. Grealish, NDI, and the likes, right? Dewsbury Hall has been decent for them as well. So yeah, I think the game should be a good one. But yeah, these stats really surprise me. This is the form of late with both teams. Obviously, Liverpool, the only undefeated team, 4-2, 3-2, 1-0 and 1-0, back-to-back clean sheets for them. Then Everton, it's been, as the start was rough, that's a game that I thought Everton really probably deserved something out of. But Leeds in the end did win that one 1-0. Then they had a good home win against Brighton, keeping a clean sheet. Had a more high-scoring game against Wolves, 3-2 win away from home, and then they drew with Aston Villa in quite an unforgettable game last week, 0-0. Now, in the Premier League, you can see the dominance of Liverpool. They've played 66 times, 29 times. Liverpool have won 11, Everton have won. And you look at the more recent fixtures, not really high-scoring affairs except for this game, the last game. I believe that was the last game ever, last Merseyside Derby ever at Goodison Park, if I'm not mistaken. That one ended 2-2. I think that was a late goal by like Tarkowski or something. The Corey, okay. Yeah, 2 late goals. But I knew Tarkowski scored one of them. And then Jones. No, how it go? Yeah, no, it was Tarkowski. The Corey got a red card and Jones got a red card. And then we fight. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, remember that, man. Tarkowski scored late. But yeah, this game, look, I've talked up a lot. I've spent a lot of time talking up Liverpool. Everton. But I think, when you really check it, I think if Liverpool fully apply themselves, which in the Merseyside Derby, I believe they will, I think they should get the win. Like I said, I think this Everton team is better than probably people give them credit for. I think it's not a terrible team, for sure. And I just feel like Liverpool still will get the job done, though. So I'm gonna say 2-1. The late goal trend from Liverpool continues. Tempted to say 1-0 or 2-0, but I'm gonna give Everton a 1 goal. So 2-1. 2-1 Liverpool. A closer game than I think people think it's going to be. But I can still Everton holding out, and Pickford having one of them days where him get a lot of saves. Bless up DJ Gigs in the building. Big up yourself. Is that football always on Liverpool side for him to always get a win in most games in extra time, or they're just that good? Well, DJ Gigs, look, I think with them it's a belief thing for sure. Because a lot of teams, and also one thing I say about Liverpool when they're quote unquote chasing a game, some teams they look like they're panicking. I don't get that sense from Liverpool when it getting late in the game. I just feel like they do have a gear that they kind of get to, where even if something doesn't come off for them technically, their sheer like work rate is going to win back the ball and they're back at you again. So I think it's that relentlessness that they show that makes it seem as if them have luck, and my coaches always used to say, "You make your own luck," right? And it's always say, "Brother, stop your nice." But to be honest, it's true. You can actually, based on the effort you put out, somehow those people tend to get the bounces most of the time. Big up to you, Conrad, in the building. Wagwan. You're there, Kim, as always. Big up SSB28 in the building. Hope all is well. Bless up the Jaguars as well in the building. One of my members, don't know. Big up yourself, Jaguars. And if anybody else want to become a member to support, just locate it on the homepage of the channel. There's a big fat button that says join. Just click that and follow the instructions. Yeah, man. So another way to just show support to the channel. I think Liverpool will start to click. The first 30 minutes of the Atletico game, Liverpool look like the best team in the world. Liverpool needs to clean up the mistakes. Yeah, SSB, I think with Liverpool, though, is when they're not on top in a game, they're giving up too much right now. Too many openings, too many shots on goal. That's the only thing with Liverpool. I just feel like if you have the bravery to go at them, yeah, man, you can get something from them, man. Let them know, Conrad. Let them know. No, not yet. He have to go prove himself more. Yeah, man, the Barca fans, them not having it yet. Them say them now go jump for this brace where I'm getting a Champions League. Too good goal. All right, so moving along, people. Liverpool, Everton. I think everybody that I have so far that put in votes all went for Liverpool. So don't think anybody will be gaining any ground. Where's Red Skull when you need him to tell us that the match going to draw or Everton going to pull off the upset, Yeah, man. So let's get the next fixture up. That's Brighton versus Tottenham. So like I said earlier on, Tottenham did get a win in the Champions League match they played, and Brighton, I think Brighton was relaxing all week. Don't think Brighton had a EFL Cup game. No, they didn't. They didn't. They don't play EFL Cup till this week. Brighton actually taking on Barnsley. If that's a Wednesday, I might do it, All right, so Brighton hosting Spurs at the Amex Stadium. Chris Kavanagh repping. So when you look at the stats for the game, these are the league positions. 13th for Brighton, 3rd for Tottenham. 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses for Brighton, and 3 wins and a loss for Spurs. Spurs have double the amount of goals with 8. And goals conceded on average 0. Obviously, is point something for Tottenham. And 2 goals conceded per match on average by Brighton. You see the XG. This just goes to show how important it is to finish your dinner. 6.83 is Brighton's SG, and they've only gone 4 goals. Whereas their XG is almost a full 2 low, but they've gone double the amount of goals. Crazy thing. And no clean sheets for Brighton, 3 already for Tottenham. So These are the fixtures that they have had to start the season. 1-1 with Fulham Brighton, 2-0 away to the opening of Everton new stadium there on Merseyside, 2-1 win over Man City at home. That's a big win. And then, of course, they lost last week 2-1 to Bournemouth away from home. Tottenham, back-to-back wins against Burnley and away to City, big win there. Then they turn around and lose 1-0 before the international break to Bournemouth at home. After international break, they go to West Ham's London Stadium and win 3-0. So Tottenham, one blip so far. And, we'll get further along in the season and we'll see if it was a blip or that's just more how it's going to go. 16 matches played between the two teams, 9 wins for Tottenham, 6 for Brighton, and 1 draw. The last 2 fixtures, which they played last season, Brighton did the double over Tottenham. Obviously, Tottenham fans will tell you that was Ange. It was not Thomas. So, let's see if Mr. Frank can turn it around. Brighton has won, 3 of the last 5 meetings, and they did do the double over them last season. Obviously, one to forget for Tottenham. So Brighton need to try to get the push up the table right now with a win. I'm sure they'll be looking for one. But what say you guys on the Brighton hosting Tottenham? What say you guys? Now, Tottenham, as I said before, they did play in the Champions League this past week, and they faced Villarreal. So they started Vicario in goal. I think he will stay there. They pretty much went with the starting back line. Pedro Porro, Romero, Van de Ven, Jed Spence. In midfield, Bentancur, Bergval, and Sarr. And then up front, you had Kudus on the right, Simmons on the left, and Richarlison central. So that to me sounds like a strong, strong team. The only change I could see is João Paulinho coming in for Bentancur, from the start. But other than that, and maybe Randall Moani start over Richarlison, maybe. But other than that, I think, Tottenham pretty much went strong in the Champions League. They did get the win, so it paid off. But how will that affect them going into this game against Brighton, if any at all? So yeah, the Amex, what you guys have to say about Brighton and Tottenham? All right, so me, Brighton like the big scalp them, All right, so I'm going to say another 2-1. Brighton going to take that one, the 2-1. That's my story. All right, Jagan's in the building. Drop the first score. Liverpool 2, Everton 1. Self-ref assisted villains. We are watching and see what I'm going with first. Yeah, man, once I'm not ready to commit to no Rashford at Barca yet. If you look at the Bournemouth game, they were attacking Tottenham, but they are a more organized team than Brighton. Brighton need to defend and be organized to win. That is true. Look, I just feel like Brighton, I don't know, it's going to be interesting, because I think Ursula likes to be in control of the game. Like, he wants to have the ball. And I think Frank is versatile. I've seen his teams play more possession-based. And I've seen his teams play super direct too. So I think he's definitely a coach that week to week look at the opponent and try to formulate a plan. He's not one of those coaches that just have him head set when I'm going to play every game. Spurs have strength for certain people, so that gives me pause. I hope Brighton is their boogeyman. Yeah, man, I feel like Spurs randomly them going to lose this game. And like I said, they went strong in midweek. So how does that affect them if him go with the same type of lineup? I envision just Paulinho coming on for Bentancur. That's it. And then in midfield, let me see. In midfield now, I'm start Bergval and Sarr. So I think Sarr will play again. But Bergval is the one that might drop. There's really no other midfielders there. So yeah, I think Bergval will have to play. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty much the same team. So Let's see. I think Brighton, that freshness is going to tell. If you look at Brighton's wins as well, most of their wins, them get the goal them late when they make some subs and everything. So if that formula is still the same, I would like to think that a weary Tottenham after Champions League going to struggle when them subs get made. But let's see. Let's see if I'm right or wrong, people. We all know that's one thing, When we reach the master sheet, the truth will come out. That tough head coach is Pep. Man's inflexible. Die with ever. Yeah, tough head coach is Pep. Tough head coach is a lot of coach. Them no want to change nothing ever. So Jaguars going with the opposite 2-1 to Spurs. Yeah, I see it being a 2-1 game. But I'm leaning towards the Brighton side of things, Yeah, man, Jaguars. I got that one. Respect. All right, so let's move right along to the fixtures now, people, because every week we end up run out of time, All right, Burnley and Nottingham Forest. This one will be at Turf Moor, obviously. And then when you look at the stats, you see they're very close in position and dropped out of the EFL Cup. Like I said, they were up 2-0 and then ended up losing 3-2 in injury time to Swansea. So not the best start for him, losing to Arsenal, then 3-0, then losing to Championship side in the EFL Cup. Yeah, so rough for them. Swansea beat them, knocked them out. All right, so 1 win, 1 draw, 2 loss. Really 1 loss under the new manager, and then 1 win and 3 losses for Burnley so far. You see the goals dead even. That's a problem for both teams. Only 4 goals on the season. The XG pretty close, but the edge goes to Forest there. And 1 clean sheet kept by Burnley. That was their 2-0 win. But they've lost 3-0, 3-2, and 0-1. 1-0 to Liverpool at home, Man U away, and Tottenham away. So some tough fixtures in the first 4 for a newly promoted team. And then Nottingham Forest, they started out unbeaten for the first 2, but then suffered back-to-back 3-0 defeats. That West Ham defeat, I kind of just take that out of my brain because I know that's when everything was going on with the manager and all these rumors swirling around and everything. So I think West Ham just caught them on the best day for West Ham. And then Arsenal at the Emirates, 3-0, pretty handy display. Didn't give away much of anything. So that was a good game for us. But Nottingham Forest, the question is, they have a Europa League tie in midweek. How does that weigh into anything? I think based on where they are right now, Postecoglou is trying to get points any way he can. So I would expect a strong lineup again. And like I said, they did do some heavy rotation in their EFL Cup loss. So most of the players that usually start should be fresh enough to play and play, from the start. So it's just one of those ones, right? It's a newly promoted team. Forest was like the Cinderella last year, but we have to contextualize what's going on this season so far. And if I know one thing about Burnley, they're very, very stingy at home. Even this Liverpool game, only giving up the 1 goal late. Man, I almost want to give it like a. All right, I'm gonna say 1-1. Burnley and Nottingham Forest going to end 1-1, people. But now I go pick based on last season. Will they nick it though? I'm gonna say 1-1. I'm gonna say 1-1. I'm not change. First instinct. All right, West Ham and Crystal Palace. Now this game right here, this is interesting because you see the league position, 18th for West Ham, 9th for Crystal Palace. Both teams with a win, but the difference is 3 draws to go with that win for Palace, 3 losses to go with that win for West Ham. And Crystal Palace only one of 2 unbeaten teams left in the league, but they are in 9th position based on not converting some of those draws to wins. But again, only 4 goals scored by both teams struggling in that regard. But West Ham is the one with the crazy goals conceded, 3 on average they concede. That's mad, or bad, I should say. Yeah, so you see the XG, obviously Crystal Palace, a lot more. And the 3 clean sheets for Crystal Palace. I'd say if you play FPL, that's a defense that really should be, making you look and see who can I get from there. West Ham, Crystal Palace, as you can see, the fixtures that they've had so far: 3-0 loss, 5-1 loss. Did have that 3-0 over Forest, which we talked about before, and the 3-0 loss at home to Tottenham. Not how you want to start back after the break, international break. Palace, 2 draws, Chelsea and Nottingham Forest. Then they beat Villa away from home 3-0, making a statement. People thought they were going to kick on, then they turn around and draw 0-0 with Sunderland at their place. So, like I said, undefeated, but they need to convert these draws into some 3 points at some point, right? But yeah, Crystal Palace also played in the EFL Cup and they actually got through on penalties. Yeah, they got through on penalties. But based on who played for them, we see if that's going to factor into anything. I know West Ham didn't do nothing this week, but train. Mateta is misfiring, man. Missed chances in that cup game. But he played the full 90 minutes. The pivot of Hughes and Kamada, who he has used a lot in the Prem so far, they started and played the 90 minutes as well. And he did make some changes on the back line. He started what came off at halftime. Lacroix did play the entire game. So yeah, that's Crystal Palace. I think they made enough changes to the first team. I don't think that should affect them so much in this game. So I'm not going to factor that into my reasoning. West Ham Palace. I think Palace nick it, Bob Marley for Palace. All right, Wolves and Leeds. So Wolves and Leeds, people. Wolves and Leeds. Let's take a glimpse at the stats. Both struggling in the table so far. No points on the board for Wolves. Leeds had that first victory, but then a draw and 2 losses after that. Wolves scoring more goals, 1 more goal, I should say. And then yeah, the XG, you see, XG leads in the lead there as well, and they have 2 clean sheets. So obviously it doesn't make for pleasant viewing if you're a Wolves fan. 4 L's so far, and 3 of those games they failed to score. Then Leeds, since the 1-0, got a 5-0 from Arsenal. Good point at home to Newcastle 0-0, and then away from home they fell to Fulham 1-0 was the ending of that one. Leeds actually lead the Lifetime Series by 4-3 with 1 draw in there. Last time they played was when Leeds was in the Prem, and they did the double over them that season. So Leeds actually unbeaten in their last 5 in the Premier League versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. So actually, no, the last 4 they did lose 1-0 in February 2021. Sorry about that. That's from the 2021 season. All right, doing a little math in my head. So Wolves and Leeds, people. Wolves and Leeds. So we heard Sean Larson will be back, but not in a starting capacity. I do think the addition of Tolu is going to prove to be a shrewd bit of business. And I'm going to say Vitor Pereira, to repay the faith they have put in him, new contract for him. I think Wolves does get the job done in this one. I'm going to go with a 2-1 to Wolves. 2-1 to Wolves. All right, people. The game at midday in the East Coast, 12:30 kickoff, 5:30 in England. It'll be Manchester United versus Chelsea. Let's take a look at the stats. Chelsea in 5th, Man U in 14th. What they're doing out of 15th, I don't know. 2 wins, 2 draws for Chelsea, so unbeaten. So sorry, one of 3 teams unbeaten: Chelsea, Liverpool, and Crystal Palace. Sorry about that, Chelsea, for leaving you out of that. 9 goals scored so far to the 4 of United. You see the XG though for United 8.29, and they've only scored 4 goals. It's not good enough. 2 clean sheets for Chelsea so far this season. The recent form: 1-0 loss to United. You know, a lot of fans of United and pundits and everybody thought United played well, looked good in the game, but they don't really count for much. Fulham 1-1 draw after that away from home. That was a later goal conceded as well. Poor marking. 3-2 win over Burnley. They made hard work of it, but they got the job done in the end. And then a 3-0 loss to Manchester City at the Etihad. Chelsea 0-0 first game with Palace, then a 5-1 victory away from home against West Ham, 2-0 at home over Fulham, and then a 2-2 draw with Brentford the last time they played. 66 times this match has been played, and it's almost dead even. 20 wins for Chelsea, 19 for United, with 27 draws. You see the recent matches there. They played very close to the end of the season. If that's not the end, they made it. I think it was the 23rd. But yeah, 1-0 Chelsea got the better of them there. They drew the corresponding fixture last year, 1-1 at Old Trafford. So let's see how this one plays out. Chelsea been a little stingier in defense of late, but does United have what it takes to slow that down? That is the question. That is the question, people. So, but United and Chelsea, ooh, Chelsea did play as well. That's one advantage United have right now. I think they're one of like 4 teams that don't have any midweek fixtures in the Prem from now till the international break, because they dropped out of the EPL and not in Europe, and FA Cup don't start play yet. So Chelsea, it's going to be interesting to note, what did their starting lineup look like against Bayern? So Sanchez in goal, I think that stays the same. Malagusto played right back, Cucurella left back, Chalaba and Tosin in the center. So that sounds like the first team to me, right? You can assign use Fofana last week in the Prem, but I never liked how he looked at right back, but that's where they keep putting him. Reece James played midfield actually with Caicedo, Neto off the left, the right, Enzo in the 10, and João Pedro up front. That's how they started. Now, off the bench, Andre Santos, Garnacho, and Estevao all got a run out. But to me, that looks like the strongest team possible. So let's see if any of these players, just need the extra break or not. We'll find that out tomorrow. But for me, United versus Chelsea, United is a better team these days when people not expecting them to do it. If you look at most of the bigger teams they play, besides the 3-0 they got last time against City, they usually play better. It might not be the result, but they usually play better. And I just wonder how much to travel playing Bayern as well. Very physical, tough game, mentally and physically. Yeah, I feel like, all right, since I can't decide, I'm just gonna say 1-1. I don't know who will win. 1-1. So nobody now win. They're gonna draw people. Yeah, 1-1, me say. Big up Pristine in the building. Oh, go on. Hope you're well. Yeah, man, Pristine, another one that supports, subscribes, likes the videos, shares, and also is a member. So thanks so much. Means a lot. All right, Jaguars, Brighton and Tottenham. You got that one. Burnley, 1. Forest, 2. Um, West Ham 1, Palace 2, Wolves 2, Leeds 1, and Man U 1, Chelsea 2. Alright, let's see. Pristine forward out with the picks. Nottingham 2-1. West Ham 2-1. Wolves 1-0. United 2-1. Mad. Alright, so Pristine, you don't give me the first two. Liverpool, Everton, and Brighton, Tottenham. Liverpool at home, Brighton at home. So Liverpool, Everton, Brighton, Tottenham. That's it. Alright, I know Biggs are going to send for him on. Probably float as well. Alright, so let's move along. So it should be a good one, people, but let's see. Is there any fatigue from Chelsea? That's a tough match them just play. I think they played on what? They played the same day as mine? No, they played on Wednesday. It was Bayern, Chelsea, and Newcastle, Barcelona playing at the same time. Yeah. Pretty sure that's how it went. All right, so the next one, we had the Merseyside Derby already. Now we have London Derby of sorts, Brentford and Fulham. This one will take place at Craven Cottage. And it should be a good one as well. I think Brentford and Fulham can play some good football at times. Both teams, even under the new manager, it's a little bit different. But I still think Brentford have some good technical players in the team still, even without some of the bigger sales that they made. But the stats for this one, both teams right there, close together. Could have guessed this for sure. 2 draws instead of the 2 losses. That what separates these two right now. Both teams need to get more goals though. 5 goals total for Brentford, only 3 for Fulham all season. You see the XG 5.33, 4.39. And they both have 1 clean sheet. Form looks like this: 1-1 away to Brighton, 1-1 at home to Man U for Fulham first 2 games. Then they lost at the Bridge 2-0 to Chelsea. Then they had a good 1-0 defeat after the international break, beating Leeds at their yard. Then Brentford, 2 losses, 1 win sandwich in between. That's the Villa 1-0 victory. But a 3-1 loss away from home on the first day, a 2-1 loss away from home to Sunderland before the international break. And after the international break, they had a good hard-fought draw with Chelsea 2-2. Cole Palmer marking his return off the bench with a goal there. So late kickoff again. I like these later kickoffs in the Saturday. It's nice. 3 o'clock my time. 2 in Jamaica. I think 8 o'clock over in the UK. So Fulham and Brentford. Damn. Yo, you know what? Another 1-1, you know. I'm sick of me. I'm sick. All right, that's 7 matches. Now the last 3 matchups of the weekend go a look at something like this. Bournemouth hosting Newcastle. That's a very, very good matchup there. Newcastle down in 10th, but I think eventually they will rise a bit more as well. 3 wins for Bournemouth and 1 loss. So that's how they got to the 4th position currently. 6 goals scored, only 3 for Newcastle. And you see the XG, they're being outperformed as well by Bournemouth. Team form. So Bournemouth lost that first game 4-2, but I think a lot of people left there saying Bournemouth put up a good fight. Then back-to-back 1-0s over Wolves at home, Tottenham away, and then a 2-1 hard-fought win last week over Brighton. Then we have Newcastle drawing away 0-0. Less said about that game, the better. 3-2 loss at home to Liverpool, always finding a way. I think that was the Rio game when he came in and found the goal. Then away to Leeds, another 0-0 by Newcastle, and then a 1-0 victory over Wolves. All right, so that is the team form. This is the previous meeting table. Both have 4 wins apiece, 6 draws in this fixture. Last year at St. James Park, probably the worst day for Eddie Howe, at that 4-1 defeat. In the reverse fixture last year, it did end in a stalemate 1-1. So I know what I'm talking about, people. I didn't even look at that yet. But know what I talk about. Oh no, I said that for the last game. Never mind. All right. So Bournemouth, Newcastle. Newcastle, another team playing over there in Europe. I think Eddie Howe did something smart though. I think Gordon is still out. So instead of pressuring Voltamada for play the entire game, him just decided to put Gordon up there until later. And then once he did come on, he was able to cause a few problems. But looking at the starting lineup for Newcastle in this game, pretty much the starting back 4 and goalkeeper. And this basically the 7 closest to where you're defending are all first teamers. Then Elanga and Gordon pretty much are. Barnes and Gordon, when Gordon's fit, he usually plays over off the left if they're not having any issues up front. And Walter did have some issues. So that is what's going on there. With Newcastle, we found out as well that Wissa is ruled out. So that's not good news for them. But yeah, for this game, people, I am going to say, woo! I'm going to say this one ends Bournemouth 1, Newcastle 1. So that's, I don't know what it is with these 1-1s today. But a draw, I say. All right, Sunderland, Aston Villa. So how long are we going to be saying this? Is this the week? Is this the week Aston Villa turn it around? So they're winless so far, right? 2 draws, 2 losses. Sunderland with 2 wins already on the young season, 1 draw and 1 loss. Aston Villa yet to score in 4 games. That is crazy. That is crazy. 5 goals so far for Sunderland. The XG just over 3, and 2 clean sheets apiece kept by both teams. Sunderland with wins over Brentford and West Ham at home, 3-0 and 2-1. Away from home, 2-0 defeat to Burnley and a 0 last week at Sellers Park against Crystal Palace. Then we have Aston Villa, home to Newcastle, first game of the season. Forget about it. Don't even talk about it. Then the last back-to-back games, 1-0 and 3-0, 1 away to Brentford, 1 at home to Crystal Palace, and then a 0-0 away against Everton last week. So basically, this one, and these are, this is the history of the meetings. 30 times played, 11 wins for Villa, 7 for Sunderland, with 12 draws. So draws a very popular result. Shouldn't really take too much stock into this. This is back from 2014, 15, and 15, 16 days. So yeah, nothing to really see there. But Sunderland and Aston Villa, people, drop your scores in the comment section. I'm going to go with a drum roll, please. Sunderland, Aston Villa. Bro, Villa, yo. No, this can't go on. This can't go on. I'm going to say 2-1 Villa. I'll go with the Villains, man. The Villains are going to win a 1 game, finally. All right, Arsenal versus Manchester City. So this one, Stuart Atwell gets the call there. Should be a good matchup. Good matchup. So let's take a look into the stats now. 2nd for Arsenal, 8th for City, 3 wins to 1 loss, 2 wins, 2 losses for Pep. 9 goals for Arsenal, 8 for Manchester City. Goals conceded, barely any. You see the XGs though, big advantage to Manchester City. So we're outperforming our XG, which is nice. But imagine if we could have just had more XG, we have more goals. But even though that don't guarantee a goal, but the way Arsenal finish right now with the XG at 6.51 and them score 9, I would like to think we're going to finish some chances. So the form, you see, Greens all the way up to Liverpool. 1-0 loss at Anfield, but clean sheets in the other three. 1-0 away to United, 5-0 home to Leeds, 3-0 home to Forest. And as you can see, Man City 4-0 drubbing after week 1 at the Molineux, and people were going crazy, saying what was going to happen throughout the season. Then City goes back down to earth with 2 losses. They lost at home to Tottenham 2-0. They lost away from home at the Amex 2-1. And then last week, stamped their authority in the Manchester Derby, winning that one 3-0 at Old Trafford. So 56 times this match play in the Prem, 25 wins for Arsenal, 19 for Man City, and 12 draws. It was a 5-1 game last time out. Mix around 2 draws, 1 win for Arsenal, 1-0, and then a 4-1 win before that. So 2 high-scoring games, 1 medium, 1 very low-scoring game. So what kind of game will we see tomorrow? I think Arteta got a lot of beating for how he handled the situation against Liverpool the other day. So let's see if all that gets up in his head and him, try some madness today or tomorrow or Sunday, not today. Big up, Duke. Yeah, man. Big up yourself, man. Respect for dropping a like on the video. Thanks for the membership as well. Greatly appreciate that. Yes, sir. Fulham 2-1. All right, wait, did I get pristine? No. All right, so we need to start this up. Liverpool 3-1. And Tottenham 1-0, I'm assuming. Yeah, I said Tottenham 1. All right. Fulham Brentford 1-1, says Dragons. That me say too. Every game. Fulham 2-1, says Pristine. Bournemouth 1-0. Sunderland 2-0. And Arsenal 2-1. All right. I think I've picked like 3 out of the 4 Arsenal games correct, man. Like the actual scoreline. Not bad. 2-2. 2-1. 2-1. All right, Duke, your time now. Pool 2. Everton 1. Burnley 0. Forest 2. Brighton 1. Spurs 2. West Ham 1. Palace 2. Wolves 1. Leeds 2. Wow. Duke said with chess this week. 2-1 to Man United. Man, believe in him side. Fulham 2. Brentford 2. Sunderland 1. Villa 2. Sunderland Villa. Okay, wait. Okay, that's why. Fulham Brentford. Fulham 2. Brentford 2. Right? Yeah. And then Sunderland 1. Aston Villa 2. And then Bournemouth 2. Newcastle 2. And then Arsenal 3. City 1. All right, Jaguars, we get all of yours. So all that's left is mine, right? So Arsenal are gonna win that game 2-0. clean sheet settings again. 2-0. Gonna light the bad lamp so it can go on. Very flamey for Arsenal. Just cool, man. Just cool. All right, so people, I want to see my fantasy team. Don't. Now go see people. Go ahead. Now go see my fantasy team. Move up. But yeah, we have to ready up. I have to do some rearranging, you know. I have to do some rearranging right now. So people, big up yourself. Thanks again for tuning in to another great show. It was the EPL weekly preview show. Arsenal, Man City, of course, last game of the weekend should be a big one. Wish I could just sit here and live stream it, but man's not gonna be home at the time of the game. So we'll just be watching it remotely. And of course, Sunday night, we'll be back for the review show where we give you all the incidents, all the action from all the games, and we talk about the results and how they happen, and definitely we do the big reveal for everybody that took part in the selecting process of the games. All right, so big up on yourselves, people. Thanks for tuning in. We're not gonna tarry too long. People have them weekend ahead of them. They want to get them rest, including myself, people. So big up to you lot for tuning in tonight. We greatly appreciate it. Anybody that missed the show, you don't know, just leave your comment underneath the video at the end. I will add you to the pool of selections. All right. Thanks again for the support, people. I am Jason Gooner. This is Jason Gooner TV. And once again, we have to say big up. And of course, at the end of the EPL shows, you're going to hear this. Come on, you Gooners.